Entrepreneur, this is Mark Newsom, Mr. Marketing. Welcome to this special presentation entitled 3 Major Reasons Why Your Website Simply Isn't Making You Any Money, and 3 incredibly simple things you can and must do right now, entrepreneur, to fix it so that it does. Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to discover 3 incredibly simple reasons why your website simply isn't making the type of money that it could or should be, and how these 3 incredibly simple changes, if you implement them, will put you light years ahead of your major competitors. So here's a quick question for you. What does this couple who just met for the first time on their first date, this young man who's about to attempt a 3/4 length shot at the halftime of a local junior college basketball game for some money, and a crowded deli in your local grocery store have to do with your small business website and or service provider website not making the type of money that it could and should? Let's find out. Ladies and gentlemen, here's concept number 1. Let's suppose you just met somebody and this person's incredibly interesting, and you met them at a social event. And let's say 30 minutes after you get to meet them, they've got a nice smile, great sense of humor. Here's a question. Would it make any sense to ask this person to marry you, or vice versa? Now, of course, you're thinking, this is kind of ridiculous, Mark. Of course not. These 2 people don't know each other. Bingo. Entrepreneur, do you realize that on average, for every 100 unique visitors that come to your site for the first time, you'd be incredibly lucky if one of them made a purchase from you? Are you aware of that? And what that also means is, if for any reason those first-time visitors leave your site, there is a 99% chance, entrepreneur, especially if they didn't buy anything, they're not coming back. So if you're driving traffic to that site and you're attempting to sell that person on the first visit, that's the equivalent of asking somebody to marry you after a first date. Or, as we said, think of the young man who's about to take that 3/4 length basketball shot at a halftime of a local college basketball game, let's say for attempt to win $2,000. What are the odds that they're going to make that shot on one take? Exactly. On the other hand, if they were to do what's called a layup, aren't the odds a lot better that they could make more layups than they could those 3/4 length shots? Exactly. So here's what you need to do. Stop trying to sell your prospects on their very first visit. You're thinking, okay, well, I'm in business to make money, Mark. What's the alternative? Simply this. Instead, what you need to do is start laying the foundation to get your best prospects, first-time visitors, to first get to know, like, and trust you. You say, okay, well, that sounds reasonable. How do I accomplish that? Simply this. Start offering them what's referred to as that powerful, free, ethical bribe. So in other words, you're going to hold out a carrot of some kind, which is in reality a problem-solving, solution-driven info product. It could be an interview, a replay of a webinar, a special report, recording of a teleseminar, whatever, an ebook of some kind. The bottom line is you're going to offer them that in exchange for their name and their primary email address. They'll join your list, and then what you can start doing is strategically and relatively inexpensively start following up with them using inexpensive, good old email marketing. Here's concept number 2. Now picture this. Remember the last time you went into your local grocery store, especially during the holiday season, and the store is super crowded, and when you get to the deli section, guess what? Because they had that special on some kind of specialty gourmet meat or some 2-for-1 offer, you got a gazillion people waiting to be serviced, and you got 2 cashiers back there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what goes through your mind as you look at that out of control line with just 2 cashiers? What are you thinking? Exactly. So here's what that means to you in terms of online marketing. Entrepreneur, the longer it takes your site to load, the faster you're going to lose online visitors, because your first time unique visitors simply are not going to wait around for a slow loading website, just like you're not going to wait around to be serviced in a line that's getting longer and longer and longer, and there's only 2 cashiers back there to service the people. It's the same exact concept. And here's concept number 3. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it before, but it's true. You got 5 seconds or less, entrepreneur, to hold and grab your first time online visitor's attention. Think about a newspaper. You know how you have the headline and then where it's folded, where you flip it over? That's that space that you're looking at is referred to as above the fold. The same as your computer screen. So here's what it means. Do your best selling and stressing of major benefits above that fold. Do not make the mistake of thinking that a first-time visitor is going to hang around long enough to scroll to see what you have below that fold, because statistically speaking, there's a very good chance 99% of your first-time online visitors, tested, proven, they're not going to stick around long enough to scroll to see, entrepreneur. Now, let's just clear up a couple of other things. Number 1, how do most people read? They read from left to right, correct? So that's where you want to have your opt-in box in the upper right hand corner above the fold, so that when their eyes hit that, boom, they see that you're offering some type of problem solving solution and it's free. They're more apt to put their name in your opt-in box. And here's the other thing. Let's cover this, because this comes up a lot of times in these workshops. You go to some major mega internationally known bestseller like Robert Kiyosaki or Tony Robbins or Susie Orsman, whoever, and lo and behold, below the fold, guess what? They have an opt-in box, or they have something else, a video for you to watch. Ladies and gentlemen, they have established worldwide brands. You and I don't. So don't fight the statistics. Put your best information, potential benefits above the fold. Otherwise, you run the risk of losing. So let's quickly recap here. Number 1, what do you want to do? You want to collect email addresses and stop trying to sell your prospects the first time they come to your site. Or, as we said, you don't want to try and get married after the first date. Or you don't want to have to try to make a 3/4 length basketball shot. It's much easier to make layups. And what we mean by layups is you get them to join your list, you follow up strategically with email, and you got a much better chance of getting them to know, like, and trust you, and eventually make the sale. Concept number 2, entrepreneur, do not load your site up with too many plugins. Otherwise, your site is going to take too long to load, and the longer it takes to load, the more online visitors you're going to lose. In fact, think of it this way. You're working out in the gym, you're lifting what's referred to as dead weight. Every time you successfully lift that dead weight, they add 20 pounds on each side. What's eventually going to happen? That's right. You're going to reach a point where you cannot lift the weights anymore. Well, that's what happens eventually to your site. You keep loading up these free plugins. Eventually, your site is going to take so long to load that your visitors are simply going to leave. Now, let's discuss this quickly. If you know anything about WordPress and you've maybe attended a few, let's say, free online webinars about all the benefits of WordPress, etc., each instructor has their list of the 10 must-have plugins. Well, if you attend 3 of those and you listen to all of them, you got 30 plugins. Entrepreneur, you're going to have to decide when you start off which 10 you absolutely have to have and forget about the rest. Because the more you load, the slower your site is going to load, and you're going to lose. Concept number 3. Always, 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 always stress your major, most powerful benefits and do it above the fold. Because statistically speaking, you got 5 seconds left to grab or hold their attention. And if you don't get it done, then they're not going to scroll to see what else you got. So ladies and gentlemen, based on those 3 simple changes you can make to your website, hopefully you can see how this will benefit you, not just now, but in the long run, and how this is going to separate you from your major competitors. That said, for those of you that want to discover how to add an additional 25% more gross profit to your bottom line in the next 90 days or less without adding any new customers or clients, then entrepreneur, do yourself a favor. Grab that free 9-page special report at youcanmarketonlinenow.com/sales. Read it, apply it, watch your bottom line grow. That said, this is Mark Newsom, Mr. Marketing. Looking forward to seeing you again next time on the Marketing Minute.